Alright guys, so when I last posted a video about floor 25, I was showing a strategy which I use in complete domain Megumi. Now I already knew at that point that it's definitely possible to do it without incomplete domain Megumi because I did try run without him. And with just my Nobara with her ultimate skill at level 8, I was able to get the boss down to like the last 15 to 20% of his HP. So I kind of knew that, for example, if I, for whatever reason, can dupe my Nobara even higher, or for example, raise her skill level a bit higher, it should be possible to beat the boss without the need of incomplete domain Megumi. Now, what I didn't expect, however, is that some people actually asked me in the comment section about is it possible to do this without Nobara? Now, I completely get why people will be asking that because even though Nobara is on the standard pool, she is still SSR character. So if you didn't re-roll specifically for her, there's no guarantee you'll be actually be able to get her, right? But it is going to be tricky for this stage because essentially you are going to get into a situation where the enemy is only weak against yellow and resistant against all other colors, and you have no incomplete domain Megumi or Nobara, so essentially you have no yellow DPS at all. But don't worry, I took the time and I'm meant to find the solution for you guys. Now, I'm gonna warn you guys up front because you are essentially gonna be beating the stage without a yellow DPS, and in fact, for vast majority of the battle, you are gonna be doing it without any DPS at all because Gojo is gonna disappear after 7 turns. This strategy definitely works. However, it's going to take you like an hour to do so. Now, you don't have to fully focus on this whole hour because the strategy is quite simple. Like I was multitasking and I was watching a film while I recorded my run. So it's definitely okay to multitask and do something else and just have this in the background. But still, it's a whole hour of your time, so it's going to be up to you whether you want to spend an hour trying this strategy or just wait for the future when eventually you actually get a yellow DPS. But I'm just going to provide the solution for you guys, so at least you guys have the option of choosing whether to do this or not. Now, the strategy is quite simple. You can probably already guess it. Basically, you are going to stall and wear out the enemy by constantly using damage reduction on your Toge and Ichichi. And then whenever their HP get low, you heal with Shoko. And then you have Kaito to provide curse energy so they can, your other character can do their stuff as much as possible. Now, you also have Gojo here in the starting lineup, and that's because there are three enemies on the field. There's the main boss enemy, and then there are the two mobs on the side. Now, you want to kill off the mobs as soon as possible because the mobs will be sucking out your curse energy, and that's going to be annoying. So basically, the whole idea of Gojo here is that you want to use your ultimate attack as soon as possible in order to wipe out the mobs, and that's kind of why I have no standard on him. Now, if you don't have no standard, don't worry too much about that. There is one SR recollection which can also give ultimate energy and therefore allow you to ult on turn 3, and that is gonna be this one. Basically, this one gives you 250 ultimate gauge at the start of the battle, which is basically enough for you to be able to ult on turn 3. And the other nice thing about this is that if you do actually dupe it, when Gojo leaves the battle, which he will after 7 turns, you're actually going to get 10% damage dealt to everyone else, and that can shorten the amount of time you need to spend on this battle as well. Because remember, it's going to take you like a whole hour. So 10% extra damage would mean, you can save yourself like an extra 6 minutes, which is still pretty nice. So this is definitely a suitable substitute if you don't happen to have no standard. Okay. Now, in terms of the other characters and recollection, they are all pretty free to play friendly because, well, I'm just talking about SR and R characters. And then recollection wise, there's like two SR recollection. This one you can get from the game by beating from the full, and this one everyone should have access to because this is given for free in the 7-day beginner missions, etc. Now, if you for whatever reason sold your recollection, which as a general rule of thumb, I don't recommend selling any recollection in this game because it's actually quite easy to get universal dupes. But for whatever reason, if you already sold this recollection, just swap it with anything else which can give a damage reduction. Now this one is nice because it can actually heal yourself and also have a passive which gives damage reduction. But the passive is the damage reduction part is actually the one I'm really after, mainly because with the help of Shoko, it's actually quite easy to heal your team up. But what's more dangerous is that the enemy is able to potentially one-shot you without giving you a chance to actually heal up. So that's kind of why you prefer damage reduction recollection on your characters if possible. This recollection on Shoko is obviously to increase the ultimate gauge, so Shoko can do her AoE healing a lot more. This one, ideally, what you want to place on Kaito is something that can actually increase curse energy. I don't happen to have one. Well, I do have one, but I want to show a solution without it because once again, I don't want to be very specific about which recollection you need to have or not. So I'll try to make it as applicable to as many people as possible. So that's kind of why I chose this one. And the nice thing about this one is obviously increase your damage output, and therefore it cuts the amount of time I need to record my run a bit shorter. And obviously for you guys, it will make you actually beat the stage slightly faster as well. So that's kind of why I picked this one. And then for this one, I'm using this one mainly because of the passive. Once again, 10% damage taken. That's actually really useful. You actually see in my game clip, which I'm going to show you in a bit. Eventually, I can get into a stage where the enemy is literally doing like 0 damage to me because I'll have all those damage reductions stacked up. Okay, now in terms of the actual skills you want to do, let me show you the skill level as well to take reference of all of this. The other thing you also want to really take notice of is actually the pure HP stats, mainly for Shoko and Toge. Those two, I tend to find them taking the most damage because Shoko is actually weak against yellow. So, yeah, Shoko is actually weak against whatever the enemy is because basically the enemy is weak against yellow. That basically means enemy is strong against blue, and Shoko is a blue character. So that's kind of why Shoko takes a lot of damage. And Toge, because he hurts himself whenever he uses his skills, he can get pretty low on HP as well. So you just want to make sure your HP stats is at least around similar level, possibly even higher than mine if possible, because there have been a few occasions where I was running on like 2 or 3% HP remaining on Shoko or Toge. So make sure your HP is kind of at least higher than whatever I have on my screen here. Okay, and then in terms of the skills, basically it's kind of self-explanatory what you need to do. Shoko, if someone's low on HP, then obviously heal. Otherwise, just use your normal attack to do some chip damage. Kaito use his skill 3 to increase curse energy for the whole team as much as possible. Toge and Ijichi, they would basically be using their damage reduction skills. Now, one thing you have to bear in mind is that there's no way you're going to get enough curse energy for them to do it every single turn because their damage reduction skill costs 30 curse energy, and there's just no way for you to do this every single turn. So normally what's going to happen is that for every 3 turns, you are able to activate it twice on each of those characters. So basically within 3 turns, you basically have 4 turns of damage reduction. And what you really want to do is just make sure you actually alternate when Ichichi and Toge is going to take a break. Basically, you don't want to be ever in a state where both of them are taking a break and therefore not putting on damage reduction at the same time. You always want to make sure whenever you're taking a break, the other person is doing damage reduction, and that basically ensures no matter which turn you're going to take a look in the battle, you're always going to get at least 3 damage reduction stacked on because they will be both, for example, using damage reduction on the turn before, and then one of them will be using a damage reduction on the current turn while the other one's taking a break. So no matter when you look at it, there should be always be like 3 damage reduction on your whole team at any point in time. Okay, and that basically is the main strategy behind it. Now, like I said, to do this strategy, it definitely works, but it's going to take you a whole hour to do it. So I'm not going to show you guys the whole clip. I'm sure no one wants to watch a whole hour of it. But what I will do is I'll show you like the first 15 turns or so at normal speed, so you guys kind of know the whole idea of what to do and how to when to use each skills and what to do when your Gojo actually leave the field and Ichichi come on, etc. But then afterwards, for the remainder of the battle, I'll probably put it on like times 5 speed or times 10 speed. Now I know YouTube do have like a slower playback speed, so if you do for whatever reason want to watch the whole clip, you can just play it back slower, and therefore you can still get gist of exactly what happened in my whole gameplay.